All right, so if we're going to talk about what every confirmed Catholic needs to know, where do you think we would start? What topic would we start with? If there's stuff you need to know about to be a Catholic, where would we start?
From the very beginning with Adam and Eve.
Bam.
Oh, I was close.
Start with the Bible, right? So we're going to start with the Bible, and we're not stop. Hey, listen, we don't have time for commentary, okay? So we're going to zip through the Bible and all of the stuff that's in there, but we're not going to get too much in detail. But if you got questions, let me know. The Bible has two sections. Raise your hand if you know what they are.
Old Testament, New Testament.
Very good. Old Testament, which is everything that happened before Jesus, and the New Testament, which is everything that happened starting with Jesus. Who knows how many books are in the Old Testament? Yeah, if you get this, I'll be highly impressed.
It's, I think, 13.
No.
Oh, 32.
No, y'all are just guessing. You're way off. So there's 46. Okay. So yeah, there are only two guesses.
I was close.
Stop. Okay, stop. So the first five. Now we talked about this in our class some last year. The first Emma, good. Come on in, Emma. The first 5 books of the Bible are called something as a group. Who remembers what that is? Emma might remember. The first 5 books of the Bible together are called something. You remember what it is? Pentateuch. Very good. How many sides are on a pentagon?
5.
Right. How many books are in the Pentateuch?
5.
5. Good. It's also called the Torah, and it's the Jewish people consider this their holy book. So the first 5 books are their laws. The 10 Commandments are in there. All of the do's and don'ts of Jewish tradition are in there, and the Catholics accepted that book as part of their Bible. What?
Wait, so all the Jewish people have like 5 books?
No, they have 46 books. The first 5 are the ones that are listed there, and then there's more coming. But the Jewish people don't use the New Testament. They just use what we call the Old Testament. So after the first 5 books, there are a group of historical books, a group of wisdom books, and a group of books of the prophets. If you ever heard during Mass a reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah, that's one of the prophets. The prophet Jeremiah, the prophet Daniel, there's several of those. The New Testament has 27 books. The first 4 are the 4 Gospels, which are what? Raise your hand if you know the 4 Gospels. Very good. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, those Gospels talk about what primarily? Those books are about who? Jesus and the life of Jesus. They go all the way until he dies, he's resurrected, he's with the apostles for 40 days, he goes to heaven, and then he leaves the church for his apostles to run since he's gone, right? So what do you think the first book after the 4 Gospels is? If it was a book about what the apostles did to start the church, what do you think it's called? The Acts of the Apostles. Very good. After that is all of the epistles or letters that Paul wrote to all the different groups. And the last book of the Bible is the book of Revelation. Now, the handout you're going to get, and Gene, here's what we're going to put in their binder for this. And that's a lot. This is one of the busier weeks. And that we're going to roughly follow that. But what I just gave her includes this. There's a handout for 100 prominent events, people, and actually it's places also in the Bible. So if you want to know what's in the Bible, we covered it pretty well in that 100 things from the Bible. Now we're going to talk some about prayers that you should know. We've been doing a lot of these over in the other hall, Sign of the Cross, Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory Be. Then there's some more that you guys should at least be familiar with. Grace before meals. You know, who knows that prayer? Yeah, please. How about if I start it? Do you think you know it if I start it?
Yeah.
Bless us, O Lord. Perfect. Who knows? Anybody know the guardian angel prayer? Okay. No. Then there's the act of contrition, which is the prayer you say before you go to confession, and the prayer to St. Michael, which we've been saying over there. All of those are written out in what's going to be in your binder, as well as the Apostles' Creed, Hail Holy Queen, Fatima Prayer, and the Memorare. Those are all good Catholic prayers that are be listed in there, so you can check those out. Next up, Holy Days of Obligation. Now, every Sunday is a holy day of obligation. We've talked about that. Going to Mass on the weekend, either Saturday night or Sunday, is an obligation to you as a Catholic. The holy days of obligation don't mean that those Sundays aren't. They just mean that there are 6 during the year that are just like Sundays. You need to go even if they're not on Sunday because the days are that important. Who thinks they know what any of those are? No, Ash Wednesday's not, although that's a good guess. It's the beginning of Lent, but it's not a holy day of obligation.
Good Friday.
Good Friday's not either, believe it or not, but you should definitely go. Easter's on a Sunday every year, so it's already a holy day of obligation. These are days that might fall during the week. What's another big important day? There you go. Christmas is one. We'll get to that. But we're going to start January 1st is one, but it's not because it's New Year's Day. It's called the Solemnity of Mary. It's a day that we recognize Mary and all that's holy about her as the mother of Jesus, and that's on January 1st. The next one is when Jesus went up to heaven. Who knows what that one's called? No, that's when he rose from the dead. Nope, that's when he rose from the dead.
Oh,
What's the day called what's it called when Jesus went up to heaven after he had risen from the dead and spent some time with his apostles? Starts with an A. The Ascension. Very good. Thank you. The Ascension. And so Jesus was resurrected, and he was with the apostles for 40 days as the resurrected Jesus, informing them on here's what you need to do to keep this church, to establish this church and keep it going. 40 days from Easter is always going to fall on a Thursday, so it's called Ascension Thursday. The Assumption of Mary is on August the 15th. We just talked in the other hall about the one that's on November 1st. It's the day after Halloween. Halloween is All Hallows Eve. What's the next day? All Saints Day. Very good, which is November the 1st. Then this one's tricky. What's the one? Mary was born without original sin, if you remember that. What's that day called? If you arrive in your mother's womb, you are conceived. So that's a conception. And if you're clean from original sin, if somebody cleans a house and it's sparkling clean, what's it called? It's
spotless.
IMM is how it starts.
Imitation.
Immaculate conception. What that means is that, and this isn't Jesus, this is Mary. Mary was born without original sin because, as the angel told her, he said, "Hail Mary, you have some grace in you." That's not what he said.
Yeah.
Full of grace. Full of grace means you're grace filled. You have no sin. So Mary was born without original sin, and we celebrate that on December 8th. And the last one is Christmas on December 25th. What happened that day? Thank you. Just checking. I know, but I want to give him a shot at it. Every Sunday or Saturday, if you go to Saturday Mass, is a holy day of obligation. All right. Who knows the 12 apostles? We talked about this a good deal. I know you can name them backward and forward. Who else?
Yeah, I know two.
Okay, we'll start there.
Thomas and John.
Okay, Thomas and John are two. Go.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Okay, no, those are the 4 Gospels, and 2 of those are apostles, but 2 of them aren't. So I don't even want to go there.
There's 12 of them?
Y'all remember how I told you to remember these?
Yeah.
How? All right, one starts with what? A. One starts with what? And then there's 4 what? 4 J's. A, B, and 4 J's. And then what? M. Remember this? M. MPPSTT. All right, so let's start with the A and the B. Who's the A? Raise your hand if you know. No. Andrew is the A. Who's the B? It's a very strange name.
I know it, but I can't think of it.
Bartholomew. Very good. 4 J's. Who can give me 4 J's? No. There's 1 John. There's two of the same name, but it's not John. So John.
I get it. It's John,
James. And what's the one that betrayed Jesus?
Judas.
Okay. Yeah. Raise your hand. Judas. So it's Andrew, Bartholomew, James, John, Judas, and then M. What's the M? Raise your hand if you know the M. Matthew. And then there's 2. Let's start with Peter. Philip. Who's the main one? Jesus said, "On this rock I will build my church." Talking to who? Peter. Very good. Matthew, Peter, Philip, and then who's the S? Simon. Good. And then there's 2 T's. Thomas is one.
I told new teacher my name was Thomas.
Thaddeus. Okay. Thaddeus. All right. Now, Simon, listen, Simon, there were two Simons. Hey, stop talking. Elliot. Okay. There were two Simons. Who else was named Simon but had their name changed? Peter, right. Why did Jesus change Simon's name to Peter? No, good guess though. Peter means rock, and he said, "You are the rock upon which I will build my church." So he named him Peter for the rock. All right, so there's the 12 apostles. You guys worked your way through those. Next up is going to be the 7 sacraments. Who knows some of the sacraments or all of them?
I know 0.
No, you don't. You're studying for one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. We're here for one.
Oh, I know. Okay, I didn't know what a sacrament. I got you.
Okay, all right, go. What's that?
Okay.
Oh, you want to try them all? See how many you can do.
I can do.
First communion.
First communion. Yeah. No, which one are you doing now? Confession's one.
And then
Which one are you doing now? What are we studying for? Stop talking.
I don't know. Oh.
Go home and ask your parents which one you're studying for. Sorry.
Okay,
Confirmation. Thank you. Do you know any
Y'all put me
more?
on the
Matthew?
spot, I couldn't think of nothing.
Marriage is one. What's the sacrament word for marriage? Do you remember that? It's another M word. What?
Oh, okay. I have.
What's the? I'm first. I want that M word for marriage. It's the same thing, but it's the sacrament word. The sacrament word isn't marriage. MAT. It starts with.
Matthew.
Matrimony. Very
Yeah, I
good.
really get that right.
Yeah, matrimony. All right, now there's 3 more. Who knows another one?
Beat that.
Baptism's one. Yeah, they already said confession.
Confirmation.
They already said confirmation.
Yeah.
Becoming a priest.
Becoming a priest is one, but what's it called?
Priestism.
No.
Appreciation.
It's priest time.
It's 2 words. First word's holy, and the second word, what? No. Second word starts with an O.
Holy opportunity.
Holy obligation.
Apostle starts with an A.
Holy
O-R. You know this one, Emma?
yeah,
Holy
you know,
or-
Holy ordination.
Close. It is an ordination. Holy orders.
I was supposed to know.
Holy orders. They wouldn't, on Jeopardy, they would get a, that's incorrect. All right, what's the last one? Sacrament of the sick. There you go. All right, and there they are. Baptism. Now, listen. Reconciliation has several names. It can be reconciliation, it'd be confession. Some people call it penance. You get all 3 of those. You make your confession, you receive penance, and through that you're reconciled with God. The sacrament itself is usually called reconciliation now because it stresses your reconciliation with God, which is positive. A lot of people see the penance or confession as negative, so they call it reconciliation. Communion can be called Eucharist. Marriage can be called matrimony. So there's several different names for those. Now, who wants to tackle these? We talked about those a lot. Now, in order,
You don't have that.
Oh no.
We're gonna do these in order.
Yeah.
Go, Garrett. What's the first one?
In order.
Good answer. What time?
Thou shalt not
How's that start? I am what? I am the Lord thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not use my name in vain.
I look them up.
All right. What's the second one? Who knows the second one? So there's one. No, but that's 3. What's the second one? No.
Like there shouldn't be any worship or
No, that's part of number 1. I'm blocking your view. All right. It is about God, though. The second one's about God. What?
You shall not have strange gods.
Same thing.
I don't know.
No, I haven't shown the second one. You see that number 1? That's still number 1. Who? Thomas? What, did you say it? No. All right. What about if you get real mad and you say what?
I should not use the word.
Thank you. That's number 2.
I said that.
Well, I didn't hear it. She said you said it, and then you said thou shalt not kill. Okay, I missed it. Sorry about that. But you didn't raise your hand. Clearly.
No, he did it.
I didn't call on you.
He did not.
Okay. All right, Thomas. So what's 3?
She said it. She said it.
Yeah.
Did I say it or did I not?
You said it.
Oh, give me a second.
I think I'm wrong.
Go ahead, Emma.
Oh, was it? Was that right?
I think you said it
You
earlier.
said it for the second one.
Keep holy the Sabbath day. All right. All right. Now, those first three, listen, Elliot, stop talking. The first three are about our relationship with God. I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no strange gods before me. Remember to keep, do not take the Lord's name in vain, and keep holy the Sabbath day. Those are all about our relationship with God. The next 7 are about our relationships with each other. Okay. What's the next sacrament? Who knows?
It has to do with the parents.
It does. Right? Thomas?
I'm going to put saying that. Don't disrespect your parents. Elders.
You're on the right path. What's it say? What's the word? There's a word there.
Obey?
Close. How about honor? Honor your father and mother, or mother and father, or honor thy father and mother. Now, here's the thing about these sacraments. They're listed in order. Gary, they're listed in order of importance. The first and most important is I am God. The end. All right, so that's the most important. The second is who remembers. Second, don't use my name in vain. The third, keep holy the Sabbath day. So after those 3 with God, the most important sacrament after that is honor your father and mother. Now here's why that's interesting. Here's how important it is to honor your father and mother. What's the next sacrament? We'll give them both to me. I'll tell you.
Okay, don't lie.
That's not even a sacrament.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Wait, I got you.
What's your other one? And I mean a commandment.
No, that's number 6.
Now, look, bingo. Thou shalt not kill.
Oh, no, that was number 6.
Now, here's the thing. While they're in order of importance, that's after honor your father and mother. That's how important it was in biblical times to respect and honor your parents. It was more important than don't kill someone. What?
So if like your parents said go kill this person, you can do it.
No.
Yeah, because you honor
But
them.
you're honoring.
No, honor does not mean do everything they say, even if it's something bad. It's about respect and about acknowledging them as your elders. All right, now we get a little tougher. After that, who knows what's next? Nope. Close.
It's something about you.
Shh. Nope.
Is that one on? I forgot what the word was. It was something about like cheating on your wife.
Exactly.
Oh, I was going to say
That's
that.
it. Very good. What's the word?
Adultery.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. All right. So that's very, very important. But that's good. You knew exactly what it was. Now, Emma, what's the next one? Thou shalt not steal. All right. What's next? Anybody? You try it? What'd you say a minute ago? Okay, not quite. There's one yeah, and there's one that applies to that. But first, there's another one before that. Bam! Way to go, Emma. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. What does that mean? What? Tell lies about them, gossip about them, anything like that. Don't be somebody who's out there causing drama. Right? Guess what? The 10 Commandments still apply today. You know, don't kill people. That's pretty simple. Take care of your parents, honor them, make sure you respect God in all the ways mentioned. Don't be spreading gossip. Don't get on social media and dog people. That's bearing false witness against your neighbor. Now, the last 2 are pretty similar. What are they? Up Matthew's. He's kind of hitting on those. You shall not. What's the word? There's a strange word in there for being envious or wanting something other people have. You shall not what? Starts with a C.
Covet.
Covet.
Oh,
You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not covet your neighbor's goods. Covet means be envious of or wish you had. So neighbor's wife, meaning if you're married, Gary, if you're married and somebody else is married, you can't be going, well, I wish she was my wife. Or I wish he was my husband. That's coveting your neighbor's wife or husband. And then coveting your neighbor's goods is I wish I had that car. Or I wish I had that house, or whatever the case may be. Now, like I mentioned earlier, okay, hang on one second. First 3 are about your relationship with God. The last 7 are about our relationships with each other. Yes, Colin.
Okay. So is it like in a playful way, like, oh man, I wish I had that car. Like, I never.
That's a good question. It's not, if you're going, boy, that's a nice car. It's more about that, to the point that you're wishing bad things on people that have that car.
Yeah.
You know, I wish he would break one of the commandments and end up in prison, and then I could have that car. Okay. But it's not acknowledging somebody has something nice. It's wishing bad things upon them because they have something else. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. Here's a word for you. Anybody ever heard of that word? How do you say it?
I'll say that's all wrong.
Nope. Nope.
Ooh. Beat it.
I can't even really get on you too bad about that. You're hooked on phonics.
Did I get it?
Beatitudes. The Beatitudes. Has anybody heard that word before? Garrett, does that word ring a bell at all?
No.
All right. What about this? What if I said, blessed are the poor in spirit? You ever heard that phrase before?
Yes.
Okay. Those are the Beatitudes. They were said, yes. Okay. The Beatitudes they're in the Bible right there in the 5th chapter of Matthew. And the Sermon on the Mount is when Jesus went up on the mountain and there were, hundreds or thousands of people that he was speaking to. And he was telling them, blessed are those, because everybody thinks if you have things, everybody thinks if you have things that's the cool thing. Jesus is saying, blessed are the poor, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the people that a lot of people look at and either laugh at or think, what is that person doing? And Jesus is calling them blessed. So it's one of those things where you got to realize that that's in your pocket. Now, here's some things that you probably haven't heard of, but you're going to hear about. Corporal works of mercy. Who knows what's a corpse? Right. It's a body. A corpse is a body. Corporal works of mercy, same root word, means works that you do that help the bodily needs of others. Things like feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, care for the sick, visit those in prison, and bury the dead. So it's the things you do physically to help other people's physical needs. And then there's the spiritual works of mercy, which of course tend to the spiritual needs of others. What's something you might do that could help somebody spiritually?
Give them emotional support.
Yep, that's right. That's on there in a little bit different words, but that's exactly right. What else? What can you do for people to help them spiritually? Yep, and what would they do with that? Right. What else? What else?
Spread your holy faith.
Spread the faith, absolutely.
Interpret it.
What else? And interpret it. What else? What can you do to help people spiritually? What's the main thing you can do? If somebody's sick, what were we doing over there? What can you do for somebody who's sick? Pray for sick people, right? So here's the 7. There's 7 of those. Counsel the doubtful. Counsel means to give advice or encouragement to people who are doubting themselves. Instruct or teach the ignorant. Ignorant doesn't mean stupid. It means uninformed. Okay? Ignorant doesn't mean stupid. It's 2 different things. Well, I'm just asking for you all to look this way. Admonish sinners. What's admonish mean? What's admonish? Admonish sinners.
Tell them that, or just tell them that they're doing wrong.
Right, exactly. Comfort the afflicted. If there are people in need, comfort them. Forgive offenses. Our Father says, forgive those who trespass against us. Bear wrongs patiently. If somebody does something wrong to you, bear with them and be patient. And then pray for the living and the dead. We did both of those over there. There were people praying for people who had died and people praying for people who were still living. Yeah, exactly. And those are spiritual works of mercy when you're praying for people like that. And like I've told y'all a couple times, and I'm going to keep telling you, look at that slide. Being Catholic is not easy. There's a lot to it. But guess what Jesus told his apostles? He didn't say, hey guys, come have some fun with me. This is going to be a great trip and it's going to be really easy. You know what he told them? To the fishermen especially, drop your nets, pick up your cross and follow me. So pick up your cross does not mean it's going to be fun. It means it's going to be difficult. Being Catholic isn't easy. There's a lot to know and there's a lot to follow as we're trying to follow Jesus' path. Theological virtues. What in the world would that be? There's 3 of them. If I said faith, hope, and what? There's 3 of them. Faith, hope, and love. You'll hear people say that. It's in songs, it's in poems. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. You'll hear that a lot of times. Love and charity go hand in hand. Cardinal virtues. Going over these quickly because you won't hear these very often. What's prudence? If you're being prudent, what are you doing? No, none of those.
Being very nice.
It's closer. It's close. You said the opposite of what he said. Being prudent is being, you're very well reasoned. You're thinking things out and you're taking your time to do that. Temperance is very similar to that. And then justice and fortitude. 4 marks of the church. When we say the Nicene Creed, which is the prayer we say during Mass, turn your chair all the way around. You've been doing that the whole time.
Don't scoot your chair, Garrett.
Don't scoot. All right, so the 4 marks of the church are said during the Nicene Creed. We say, I believe in one holy, Catholic, and apostolic church. Those are the 4 marks of the church. All right, and then we get 2 stations of the cross. They're around the inside of the church. We're just going to zip through those real quick. Jesus is condemned to death. He receives the cross. He falls the first time. He meets his mother. Simon helps him carry the cross. Veronica wipes his face. Jesus falls second time. There's the next 3 and the next 4. 14 stations altogether. You're going to get something on
No, I
this.
just want to read the last one.
The last one?
No, not
The last slide?
on. Okay. No,
You did work
I
Okay.
read it. I
Okay.
just want to read number 10.
Okay. All right. And then the rosary, which we talk about sometimes in the classes that I've had with you guys. There are 4 sets of mystery, and they're called different types of mysteries. Who knows what any of those are? No, but that is something related to the church. I'll give you one and see if you can get the rest of them. One of them is the joyful mysteries. So what are some other ones? Joyful means happy. Sorrowful is one. Okay. One starts with a G. Nope. GL. GL. Oh, glorious. Glorious mysteries. And the last one's tough. It's called luminous. It means mysteries of light. So the joyful mysteries, and there's actually days that you might have parents or grandparents especially that pray the rosary every day. And you do certain mysteries on certain days. You pray the joyful mysteries on Mondays and Saturdays. Those are the 5. The Annunciation is when what angel came to Mary?
John.
Gabriel came to Mary and told her she was going to give birth to Jesus. And then Mary went to visit her cousin who was named what? What? It's another woman. It was her female cousin. Her son was John the Baptist. Nope. Her name was Elizabeth. And when Mary told Elizabeth that she was going to give birth to the Christ child, John the Baptist leapt in her womb from the news. Then the third one is the Nativity, which is Christmas. The presentation is the presentation and the finding in the temple are temple-related Jewish traditions, because what religion was Jesus, Elliot? No, there weren't Christians yet. He was Jewish. All right? So the temple, anything done in the temple is related to his Jewish tradition. The sorrowful mysteries, you think they're happy or sad?
Sad.
Right. What might be included in the sorrowful mysteries? What kinds of things might be included?
The Church of Christ, like having to carry the cross.
Carrying of the cross is one of them. What else happens that might be sad? The crucifixion is one. What happened before he was arrested? What was sad before he was what? No, what? Yeah, but what was a sorrowful mystery? Sorry. No. Good guess.
During the Last Supper, Judas he said, "Dip your bread into this wine," I think it was, and you should. I forgot what it was.
You're on the right track, but this is just barely after that one.
So after he went to
The Garden of Gethsemane. You're on it. Well, not crying blood. He was sweating blood. He was so distressed that he sweated blood. That's called the agony in the garden. And then after he was arrested, remember what we talked about scourging is? Who remembers what scourging is?
Wait, no.
Okay, what?
Was Judas the one that betrayed him?
Yes.
Or sold him out?
Yes, and he's the one you were talking about that dipped his bread in the same time Jesus did. Yeah. Yes.
It would kind of make it doesn't make sense how he would sweat blood because
It's Jesus. We don't talk about.
Go ahead, Elliot.
because when he was on the cross and what's his name the sword cut him, it wasn't blood.
Right. That's correct. But it was blood and water. It wasn't just water. So he was sweating blood. That's actually a physiological fact that can happen. He's not the only person that's ever happened to, but that's how distressed he was that he was sweating blood. All right, so here are the 5. Agony in the garden is that. The scourging at the pillar is they were beating him as part of his punishment. And when we have our retreat, we're going to watch that there's a movie called The Passion of the Christ, and it shows the scourging, and it's hard to watch. I mean, it is hard to watch, but they do a good job of portraying what all he went through. The crowning with thorns, remember that? They put the crown on him that was made of thorns. And then Colin said the carrying of the cross and the crucifixion. All right, the glorious mysteries. Glorious is good, right? What might be a really, really good thing that happened that we would pray about? Rose from the dead. What's that called?
Resurrection.
The resurrection. What else was good that happened after that? What happened 40 days after that? We talked about it earlier.
He rose up into.
Right, what's it called?
Ascension.
The ascension.
I knew
Right, okay. Then, remember how many sides the Pentagon have?
5.
How many? The first 5 books of the Bible are called what? Pentateuch. So that PENT prefix means 5, or it could mean 50. So 50.
Did you just say 50?
Put it back.
I don't know. I could have
Nobody wants the thing anyway. So 5 or 50 could be. Garrett, look, now pick your chair up and go way down there by the door. I'm tired of hearing your voice. You talk constantly.
I didn't even do that.
Except yap. Yap. All right. PENT is a prefix meaning 5. It can also mean 50. So what might have happened 50 days after the resurrection? It starts with a PENT. It's a very holy day in the church. Nope. Penta something, no. Penta.
What's the next
You
letter?
people, we talked about this a
Wait,
lot.
what's the next letter?
You don't need it.
I do, so I don't know. Wait.
Pentecost.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
have general intelligence.
That's when the Holy Spirit came down in the form of what?
5.
Fire. Very good. And the apostles were able to speak in tongues. What's that mean?
different languages.
They could speak and understand different languages. Then the 4th one is when Mary went to heaven. What's that called? The Assumption. And the last one is the crowning of Mary as the Queen of Heaven. So those are the 5 glories. I'm going to zip through the luminous ones, or the mysteries of light. These are the ones. What happened was there were 3 sets for 1,000 years. And then about 25 years ago, the Pope added this last set because he said there's a big hole in our prayer life if you're praying the rosary. We don't pray about Jesus' ministry and what he did. And so he made these 5 mysteries, which is when he got baptized in the Jordan River. Who baptized him? John the Baptist. Then the wedding at Cana is when he performed his first miracle. Anybody know what that was?
When he made water to wine.
Look at you.
Woo!
That's awesome.
See, I told you I don't know.
All right. So, and then the proclamation of the kingdom is when he tells them about the kingdom of heaven. The transfiguration, anybody know what that is? He took them up on the mountain. Yeah.
He changes the, wait, is it, they
No.
change?
No.
he makes
Stop.
fish up
I thought you had it and then you weren't, but we're getting to that. Transfiguration, a bright light shined upon him, and he basically glowed, and it was just a vision of him as a heavenly being rather than a human being. And then the institution of the Eucharist is when he changed bread and wine, body and blood of Christ.
Oh, I thought
At the Last Supper. So those are the 5. All right, Garrett, if you think you can handle it, you can come by, but you're going to have to be quiet and don't egg him on. All right. All right. So seasons of the church are in the liturgical calendar. There's a season coming up that's in December, and there's a little wreath up there, and they've got candles in it. What's that called? Advent. How many Sundays are in Advent? 4. There's candles in that Advent wreath. What color are they?
3. I think I may mix this up. 3 pink and 1 purple.
Backwards. But you got it right. There's 3 purple and 1 pink. Got something to add to that, or just?
Yeah. The third day.
That's very good. The 3rd Sunday is when they like the pink one. Very good. All right. Now, when people say when people say I enjoy the Christmas season, what dates do you think they're talking about? When's Christmas season start and when's it end? Okay. Who else? When is the Christmas season?
Wait, like seasonal, like natural season?
Yeah. What are the dates?
December 21st.
But I mean, there's a range from when to when.
December 21st through March 21st.
Okay. That's a season like that's
That's what I meant.
winter. I mean, like in the season of the church. Like if you said it's the Christmas season, what would the dates be? A lot of people say, hey, it starts on Thanksgiving and it ends like on New Year's. It's like the holidays. Well, it's not. Advent is before Christmas. The Christmas season starts on Christmas and runs all the way to December the 6th. It's 12 days. The 12 days of Christmas. You ever heard of that?
Yes.
12 days start on Christmas Day and it runs till January the 6th, which is when the 3 wise men got there. And what's that day called? It starts with an E. It starts with an EP. The Epiphany. So that's the Christmas season. Then we have ordinary time. What's going on in ordinary time? And then there's Lent, which is what?
It's the day Jesus was crucified, when he was.
It's a period of time. How long is it?
40 days.
No, I haven't listened. How long?
40 days and 40 nights.
All right, good. All right, and then we have Easter, which starts on Easter and goes for several weeks after that, and then we go back to ordinary time before we get back to Advent. You know how like a calendar, you flip the pages on a calendar? The liturgical calendar is circular. There's pictures of it. It's a circular calendar. It starts at Advent and it works all the way around through those seasons, all the way back to Advent again. All right, 4 parts of the Mass. Emma, stop. I'm trying to keep him out of trouble. You can stop egging him on. I know. I just said that. I'm taking up for you. 4 parts of the Mass. Anybody remember that from last week? What are the 4 parts? What's the beginning of anything called?
The beginning.
Nope.
No, that's very important.
No, I thought it was.
Starts with an I. I-N-T. Introduction. Introductory rite. And then there's the liturgy of 2 things. Liturgy of what? No, the liturgy of the Word, and then the liturgy of the Eucharist. And then what's the last one? If there's an introductory rite, what's the last one? No. If something starts with an introduction, it ends with a what? A conclusion. Concluding rite. All right, and then the last thing maybe. Okay, yeah, last thing, 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. Watch this slide, very important, because in confirmation, you're receiving the fullness of the Holy Spirit. You receive the Holy Spirit at baptism. Look right here. Confirmation is the fullness of the Holy Spirit. Here are the 7 gifts you receive. Look right here. Read them out loud. Ready? Okay. Number 1.
Wisdom.
Number 2.
Understanding.
Number 3.
Counsel.
Number 4.
Fortitude.
Number 5.
Knowledge.
Number 6.
Pity.
Not pity. Piety. Oh, way to go. And 7.
Fear of the Lord.
Fear of the Lord. Is that a lot? Have we covered a lot tonight?
Yes.
You know why?
Because we're behind.
Because we're smart.
Because it's not. All right, listen. You can leave your chairs. You can leave your chairs tonight. We're going to leave everything here. It's hey, next week's the Halloween party. Next week's no. Yeah. Yeah, hang on one second.